Good evening to you all. So, I am Professor S. Krupanidhi, Academic Director at Srimaharshi Research Institute of Vedic Technology. We are glad to have Dr. Sai Giridhar, our old student and companion, as a 12th lecture in this Silver Jubilee Memorial Lecture Series. And Sri Maharshi Research Institute of Vedic Technology started in 1999. It is now 25 years. On view of this, we are organizing a Silver Jubilee function on 31st August and 1st October in Hyderabad, T Hub. And we wish you all come and deliver your talks there and also be with us in this Vedic technology program, Indian culture and Vedic technology program. And with this brief introduction, now I request our founder director, Dr. Sastry Garu to brief on SRIVT.
Namaskaram to all and hearty welcome. This Srimaharshi Research Institute of Vedic Technology, established in 1999, the aim of bring out the hidden knowledge of our ancient sciences and technology, way of life in education, Vidya and Vaidyam. These are two eyes of the Indian culture. So first we started on academic research. Subsequently, because everyone says that Vedas, every science invented in Vedas, everyone says. But only problem is only academic comparison was only happening at that time. So many articles published and so many things are claiming that all these issues, all these subjects are in Vedas. At that time, it's only God's decision and the destiny of my life. I entered, I entered in the Vedic research domain and I translated Vaimanik Shastra, Bharadwaja Vaimanik Shastra in 1999. Then I started one small lab, you can say like kitchen. I started one lab and some alloys, I produced some alloys based on the Vaimanik Shastra. At that time, because I am not a science student and I am not engineering student, with passion only, I started this. As it is, whatever scripted in the Vaimani Shastra, I have collected some raw materials and I developed a process because I have Siddha expertise. Lines I learned Siddha way of medicinal preparations and all those things at my childhood. So I started some process on the alloys, and then I thought that something came, some solid pieces came. Then what to do? Fortunately, at that time, the senior most, almost everyone calls him as a Bhishmacharya for metallurgy, Dr. Palle Ramarao. I approached him and I said to him, "Sir, I have developed something. I don't know whether it is useful or not." Then he advised me to go to IIT Madras. And I have taken to them. They tested and they found some super properties, superior properties when compared with commercially available same proportions, same composition. So they found some super properties. Like my journey started at that time, and they encouraged me. So I entered into some alloys My byproduct is nano copper. So when I was doing some alloys, the copper production is compulsory because all are copper based alloys. So at that time copper came out. Then the IIT professors were so much excited, and they asked me, "Can you do other materials?" I don't know. I will follow ancient Rasha Shastra Granthas. Already, uh, the material, the metallurgical and material process were so detailedly explained in our Rasha Shastra Granthas. Simply, I followed those process methods and developed other nanomaterials. Now we are at a stage that you name it, we will do it. Like we have completed all metal oxides, and ceramics nanoparticles. So not only development some nanoparticles, some nanomaterials we could produce in a bulk level also and supply to DRDO, ISRO, and other organizations. In this travel, we also entered into herbal research because the Oshadiyardha, sixth dimension of Veda, the Oshadiyardha, because the material science, there is no bhashya on Oshadiyardha. Every Veda Shabda has six meanings: Vachyartha, Sutrartha, Lakshanartha, Vaiseshikartha, Yajnartha, and Oshadiyartha. So all other dimensions we have bhashyas, and only on Oshadi Bhashya there is no bhashya. So I started in 2012 compiling Oshadi Bhashya. Till now I have completed some 30,000 herbs collected, and I am doing some Oshadi, complete detail of each Oshadi. Simultaneously, we entered into nano herbal pot. So, converting herbals into nano size, ultra fine size, so sub-micron size, and also formulations also we made for focusing on the CNS areas, because nowadays people are suffering with mainly from childhood neurology problems. So I observed that there is no proper medicine in allopathy. So why don't we do something? Then I started and successfully uh, by evaluating by NIPER and Central University and other institutions. I have developed some formulations for Alzheimer's, Parkinson, anxiety, and all those things, which were given to thousands of persons, and also some products also marketed. So this is the journey, and we received a UNO award, United Nations Organizations award on green chemistry, and national award. So so far we have completed more than 20 projects with nearly 20 crores of funding. So with these achievements, now we are trying to bridging the gap between ancient and modern. That is Sanatana and Sanootana. So in this concept, we have planned one international conference in the month of August 31st and 1st September in Hyderabad, T-Hub campus. I'm requesting you all, please save our dates, and we are all working in the same line. We are all working for the good nation, good environment for the future generations. So let us join our hands and do something for the next generations. And definitely, we just today we are also planning start one working group. We don't need any uh, time pass researchers really who can work for something, who can bring out, we can shape it, we can take it to the society. So we are planning. So all the practical and everyone has their own expertise to do things. One man cannot build everything. So team spirit in the Kali Yuga, Kalu Sanghe Shakti. So I invite you all, please join hands and let us create one good platform. Just in my mind has come that Avishkar Bharat. So in this Avishkar Bharat, from all disciplines like engineering, technology, and medical sciences. These three wings, and the fourth wing is we have conducted one meeting today morning because we have to inculcate this idea in the young generation. They are the only energy and Shakti to take it to the next level. So we have conducted one I3 meeting. SRIVT started one new committee, that is I3 committee. Innovation, incubation, industrialization. So this I3 committee also we a lot today morning, and they people are very interested and very encouraging. They are supportive. So only we have to take it to the reach to the nook and corner, and all the eminent scholars who are participating in these webinars for last this is 12th meeting, and I request you all, please save your dates on the date and please come prepare a plan and send share of your articles, your ideas, all these things to publish in our seminar, in our Savani. So thank you all. This is a brief introduction of SRIVT activities. I request you again, please join hands with us, because like today's speaker, Sai Giridhar is a coach who can motivate the people and who can inculcate the ideology in the people a lot, people at large. So we need like Sai Giridhar, like you people, to command the dais and motivate the people, youngsters and scientists, and who everyone has to motivated for this noble cause. So thank you with these words. I will stop my brief introduction of SRIVT, and now I'm giving to again President Krupanidhi.
Now, I'm very glad, immensely glad to introduce one of the youngest speaker among all these 12 lectures, Silver Jubilee Memorial Lectures is Sai Giridhar. So I read a brief about him. Dr. Sai Giridhar, a seasoned consultant and certified coach, trained in International Coaching Federation competencies, leverages his expertise in human values, transformative techniques, and scientific research to assist individuals and organizations in realizing their potential. Dr. Sai Giridhar was the student of Sri Satsai Institute of Higher Learning, wherein he did MSc in chemistry, PhD in clinical biochemistry by associating with a cardiology doctor. And he had 14 years of experience in teaching, research, and program development in self-development, values, and applied spirituality. Dr. Sai Giridhar has developed and led numerous mindfulness and meditation workshops, online courses, and retreats. His unique model for human value-based self-assessment and development showcases significant transformative potential for personal and professional growth. An enthusiastic international conference speaker, now he is speaking from USA, Sai Giridhar shares his extensive knowledge on values, wellness, spirituality, decision-making, self-development, scriptural wisdom, and the psychology of the mind, integrating insights from both Indian and Western perspectives. He knew not only the organic chemistry, because he has been trained with a natural chemist, medicinal chemist, Professor Krishnaswamy, and he knows the chemistry of our systemic system, that is our body. Brain chemistry also he knew well. Currently, a wellness and a longevity coach and transformational life coach, he organizes value-based wellness retreats, providing customized client-centric solutions aimed at holistic well-being. So with this brief introduction, now I request our Sai Giridhar to address the gathering. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At the very outset, I would like to express my gratitude to Professor Kripanidhi Garu and Sastry Garu for inviting me here and giving me this wonderful opportunity to express a verbal seva, a verbal service to what I see as divinity present here in all these wonderful forms. I see very eminent beings here, scientists, people of great achievement, humble householders, all assembled together. My parents are here. I bow down to them. And before I commence this session, I would like to express my deepest sense of love and gratitude to all of you for being present here today. Thank you so much. I would like to commence by making an invocation. And this invocation is not specific to any particular form of Guru, because the Guru is a Tattva which has expressed itself through the great sages of the Vedic and Upanishadic times and continues to express through all of us, I would say, in its own ways. And therefore, this Guru Vandana is at the lotus feet of the very essence of this creation. Sarvarupadharam Shantam Sarvanamadharam Shivam Satchitananda Advaitam Satchitananda Advaitam Satyam Shivam Sundaram Sarvarupadharam Shantam Sarvanamadharam Shivam. I offer my humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of my beloved Master, Sri Satya Sai Baba, and also at the very essence of Guru Tattva that he represents, and all the other Gurus of the great Guru Parampara of the Bharatvarsha and the entire world. I express my loving salutations to each and every one of you here, who I see as living manifestations of that cosmic intelligence that pervades all of creation. And when we come in touch with this intelligence that makes the sun shine, the planets move and do their duties within the earth, makes the entire flora and fauna of the earth function in meticulous accuracy and detail. Just being in touch with this cosmic intelligence is not only humbling, but also greatly inspiring, because all of creative process that we endeavor to develop through science or spirituality is truly coming from this eternal wisdom. I bow down to each one of you here. So this wellness program that I'm going to talk to you about, predominantly conceptually for this lecture, is inspired by the ancient Indian wisdom. The basis is, of course, the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of Upanishads, and Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which is in a sense the Kriya form of Upanishads, I would say, but much more in philosophical detail as well. I'd like to give you a brief story about the genesis of the wellness model that I'm going to talk to you about. The topic for today is values, wellness, and Panchakoshas. And the brief story happened, the genesis happened on December 3rd, 2009, when the great Indian industrialist Shri Ratan Tata ji had come to Puttaparthi, the place where I had done my PhD, as Professor Kripanidhi Garu mentioned. And we all had this opportunity to put up a skit, a drama on human values for Ratan Tata ji, who had come as a guest. And after the drama, our master, Sri Satya Sai Baba Garu, he called us onto the stage and he wanted to introduce each one of us, like a parent would introduce their child. And so he told each of us to tell our topics in PhD. And I said, my topic is early detection of heart disease in Asian Indians, study of biomarkers. So as soon as Baba Varu heard that topic, and in a sense, even as I'm sharing this, I see the deep correlation between Sanatana and Sanootana, as Sastry Garu mentioned, in this very conversation. So I was into scientific research, and so Baba said, it's very easy to do the early detection of heart disease. Do you know that? So I was very intrigued and eager to know. And Baba said, there are just 5 factors you need to look at: the food you eat, the air you breathe, the environment around you, thoughts, and bad habits. He said, if you look at these 5, early detection aipotundi, he said in Telugu, which means early detection will happen very easily if you take care of these 5 factors. So, of course, I went on to complete my PhD, and my thesis I felt was incomplete without these 5. So, my own findings in my research, along with the literature that was available then in 2017, was startling for me to see that actually these 5 factors are such important determinants of health. And I had a chapter in my PhD on this. In fact, one of the outcomes of my research study did show this, that ApoA1, which is the protein associated with HDL cholesterol, known as good cholesterol, is a very important factor in early detection of heart disease. That was one of my outcomes. In fact, ApoA1 ratio was also found to be an important factor from some of the big studies that were done in the Indian population by Dr. Mohan and team. Dr. Sanjeevi Garu, who's here, and I'm so privileged to have him here. He actually was one of my research advisors. Just after my MPhil, he took over, and it was his guidance that helped me do this work successfully. So, of course, I was associated with the cardiologist in the Puttaparthi Super Speciality Hospital as well. But the key point here is, when you look at HDL cholesterol, it comes down to lifestyle changes that we have to make in order to, uh, improve the levels of HDL. And I see this across cardiac patients that especially Indians, we have, typically moderate to high LDL levels and um, lower HDL levels, and predominantly the sedentary and high triglycerides, I must say. Predominantly the lifestyle that we lead, the sedentary lifestyle. We are seated most of the time, across our systems or in the lab. Very little exercise. We don't pay enough attention to the diet that we are having in terms of fresh fruits and vegetables. And I want to bring this correlation with one of the theories that you may have heard, which is called the blue zone theory. So Dan Buettner is an explorer with Nat Geo. It's interesting how he was a Nat Geo explorer and ended up being pioneer of a wellness theory that came out of some zones in the world where the average age of the human being was above 100 years. So Loma Linda, California, USA is one such place. Icaria in Greece, Sardinia in Italy, Okinawa in Japan. These were pockets where they found that at an average people lived more than 100 years, which is quite intriguing in the modern setting without medical intervention. So when he studied, he came up with this theory called blue zone theory. And guess what were the factors that led to longevity? So it was what is called the plant slant diet. That is, they predominantly had plant-based food and mainly locally sourced fruits and fresh fruits and vegetables that were seasonal. In that sense, in terms of food or the annamaya, as it is called in the terms of kosha, the physical body is the sheath made of food, and therefore food plays a very important role in health, the physical health, to begin with. And we do see that locally sourced fresh fruits and vegetables, and that which is seasonal, which is not stored with preservatives, play a very critical role in healthcare. You see, so one of the key factors for longevity is that. The second is active lifestyle. There are people, in fact, who keep walking through the day. In fact, I had my own wellness journey in the last year or so. I was 106 kgs at a point before I became a wellness coach, and I had tried all kinds of diets for wellness. And finally, I met an Ayurvedic doctor who actually helped me understand the system better. And one of the factors beyond diet he told me was not only should I add a 45-minute walk in the morning and in the evening, he said it would not really be effective if you don't walk through the day. And he used a statement which impacted me very powerfully. He said, fall in love with walking. You see. And Dan Buettner also reveals this from the blue zone theory that uh, according to him, the strongest or the most effective form of exercise is walking. And that's what the people from blue zones did a lot. And they were in touch with nature. They were in contact. They would do gardening every day or go into the fields every day, just like how the rural India is. If you see rural India untouched by urban, I would say, lifestyle changes, you will see that the health quotient is still high if they have good nutrition available to them. Their predominant issue is either lack of nutrition or bad habits like tobacco, chewing, or alcohol. If they didn't get into these two troubles, typically their health span is really good. And what we call as longevity is not just adding years to your life, but it is actually adding life to your years. Um, and so, therefore, it is not only lifespan in that sense, as in to extend the number of years you live, it is also health span. And therefore, in this exploration, we will see how all of this ties up with values and the Panchakoshas. Panchakoshas is probably the most solid theory that I have found, which integrates various possibilities in modern science with ancient understanding. And therefore, it's worked well for me as a uh, model for wellness as well. So let's just explore this together, and I'm happy to answer your questions as we go along. So what is health? We spoke of health span. What is health? WHO basically says health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Usually, health is only correlated with disease, or if there is any issue in the body, that's what is considered to be ill health. But then WHO, almost since its inception, has been saying this, that the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. In fact, the social well-being, again, going back to the blue zone theory, was one of the factors for longevity. And they said positive social connections. It doesn't mean being related to everybody, but actually it embodies the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is, all of creation is my family. And when somebody approaches life with this attitude and makes it practical, that actually is one of the contributive factor to longevity. And it could be as simple as you're walking by, you see a stranger and you smile at them, do a namaste, and inquire about their welfare. You may never meet them again, but that builds into your longevity process. See, so social well-being as well is important to health. And I really love this slide from WHO, which focuses on mental health, because for the longest time, I feel, though it was very apparent and clear, this was not given enough attention. In our culture, however, we do know that there's this scriptural saying which says, "Mano moolam idam jagat." The entire creation is an outcome of the mind, and therefore, it is natural that the subtle body or the mind, contributes tremendously, or in fact determines how the physical health would also be. So the mental health becomes a central aspect to be addressed. And WHO has brought this out very nicely, and I'm just quoting them here. So the WHO Constitution states, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. We have seen this part. When it comes to mental health, they say mental health is more than the absence of mental disorders, you see. So mental health is an integral part of health. Indeed, there is no health without mental health. And this was something that I really felt inspired reading. And mental health is determined by a range of socio-economic, biological, and environmental factors. You see how the model that Baba Varu had given me for wellness, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the environment around you, then thought environment, and then the kind of habits that is. In Sanskrit, we use these words, which is called ahara, food, vihara, kind of company we keep, uchara, what we speak, vichara, thought, and achara, the conduct. So these five really constitute the secret to wellness. That is how we actually play this out in our life. So what is wellness? So this is my definition of wellness, inspired by the learnings I've had at the feet of masters and the great scriptures of Bharat. Wellness is the harmony and alignment of the physical and the mental with the spiritual. Now, why I use the word harmony and alignment is, these three dimensions may seem functionally distinct, or even in terms of the way they appear and present themselves in our life experience. But the fact is, they are one whole. They are just I remember this famous example from my guru. He would say that there is this Brahmin who goes and cooks food for somebody who wanted sattvic food, and then he becomes a teacher in the school. He is a Vedic scholar in his Patashala, Veda Patshala, and he's a husband at home. He may be Vanta Brahmanudu, he may be, Adhyapakadu in the school, and so on, and Veda Purohit in some other place, yet he's still one person, you see, while the functionalities are different for them. Similarly, each of us, we may be mother, father, sister, brother, different roles that we perform, but we are still one being who performs the various roles, you see. In the same way, when we look at the wellness of a human being is an integral whole. Even the Panchakoshas are only a way to understand how the nitty-gritties of the functioning happens, not to actually distinguish them as five different layers or something like that. They are an integral whole. So therefore, wellness is the harmony, to recognize that they are an integral whole. Therefore, how do I harmonize them? And it goes all the way from the spiritual truth to the transactional worldly life, has to be in alignment. So we also use the word unity and purity of thought, word, and deed, which are the three fundamental faculties of every human being, whatever be your station in life and your profession. So wellness, therefore, for me, is expansion of identity to include all of creation, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, and be in resonance with this creation. You see, so and let's look at this in more detail. Just to define Panchakoshas, for those who are not familiar with it, kosha literally means a casing, a container, or a sheath, however you'd like to call. And there are 5 such sheaths in a human being. The most physical or apparent is the physical body. Like if I ask you who you are, the first identity that you would talk about is this. You would say, this is me. So the physical body is called the Annamaya Kosha. It is made of the DNA, cells, tissues, nerves, organs, and the body systems. Then you have something called the Manomaya Kosha, which is again something you're familiar with. That is your thoughts, feelings, emotions, likes and dislikes, fears, apprehensions. All of this play out in the mental sheath. Now, the mind and the body are an integral whole, and therefore the one that integrates the two is the Pranamaya Kosha, or you can call it the energetic, bioenergetic field. So, in certain traditions, they also call it the auric field or the biomagnetic field. They comprise of all the nadis and the chakras according to the yogic tradition. And therefore, we make use of pranayama as one of the most powerful tools to literally have control over the pranamaya kosha. There are 5 major pranas and 5 upapranas. And they actually play a very important role in the organ functions that we have. Various organs, the excretory system, the digestive system, the respiratory system, the pancha pranas play a very important, in movement, for example, they play a very important role. I'm not getting into this because it's a whole topic in itself to explore. Then we have the 4th sheath, which is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which I find it to be critical for human function, because the other 3 layers are like instruments, but the charioteer, and I use this example from Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad describes the human body as a chariot that is drawn by 5 horses, representing the 5 senses: the eyes, the ears, nose, tongue, and the skin. All input that we have in life, if you note, are coming from these 5 senses. In fact, I would request you to explore this hypothetically now. Imagine you lost all sense of vision and all memory of whatever you have seen. And you have lost all sense of taste and all memory of whatever you have tasted. All sense of smell and the memory of whatever you have smelt. All sense of touch and the memory of whatever you felt through the skin, heat, cold, soft, hard, whatever was the touch that you experienced. And all experience of sound and all memory of it is gone. Imagine all these 5 faculties just hypothetically vanish from you this moment, and don't gather them back and see what is your idea of this world or yourself. I would encourage you to put this on chat box, and we'll explore this a little later probably if you're interested. But I want you to look at this very keenly. If all these 5 senses were gone, what is this world for you really? And who are you? So this is so Vijnanamaya, so if you're coming back to the chariot example, the 5 sense organs are the horses that draw this chariot of body. The reins of the horse, the rope that controls the horses, the reins, that is the mind, the manomaya. And then the charioteer who's sitting on the chariot, who controls the entire body, that is the buddhi. And that buddhi constitutes, the intellect constitutes the Vijnanamaya kosha. It is also called the wisdom or the higher mind. It has 3 functionalities. One is very important for all of us in every station of life, which is decision making. It is the decision making ability. And how do we make decision? Based on our values, beliefs, conditioning, education, company, all of that which has influenced us through our life from the childhood all the way till now. You see, that is what actually differentiates our decision. In fact, there are neuroscience studies that show that when we look at some of these studies in some time, there are neuroscience studies that show that the decision making happens in the brain 6 milliseconds before we think we have consciously decided. So that intrigued me a lot because I was wondering then how is the decision making happening if it's not my conscious decision, and therefore it is the conditioning that happens in the mind that plays a very important role, and we'll see how the values and the Panchakoshas tie up together in bringing wellness, keeping this in mind. Uh, so yeah, so in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, I would say the transactional aspect is the decision making part. The core of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellect, is the identity that we hold based on our experiences. And the transcendental aspect of Vijnan, this is the bridge between the phenomenal and the non-phenomenal, spirituality being the non-phenomenal. So Vijnanamaya Kosha extends both ends. So the tip of the iceberg is in the phenomenal of the buddhi, and the subtle aspect is in the non-phenomenal, which is called intuition or inner voice, inner conscience, you see. So Vijnanamaya Kosh has this extraordinary ability to, dwell between both realms very freely. And the final one is Anandamaya Kosh, which is what we are all after. At the end of the day, nobody works to be miserable. We don't have desires that desires may end up making us miserable, but we don't desire them to make us miserable. And we don't work to make ourselves miserable. There's only one object to all our endeavors, that is happiness, that is Ananda. Ananda is not merely happiness, but then I would for now keep it here. And Anandamaya Kosh is what we experience in deep sleep as well. And that is why we all love deep sleep, because it's where all the problems are resolved, at least temporarily, you see. And that is because, again, it is closely or intimately in contact with the spiritual reality of who we are. It is not, many people mistake the Anandamaya Kosh to be the spiritual truth. It is, in my humble opinion, it is not, because it is still a container. Kosha means a container. But however, it has the fragrance of truth or the spiritual reality, and therefore it is the most intimate with it. So yeah. So coming to values, as I mentioned, values form a very important bridge in wellness, and because we have to go with something that is tangible and something that we can relate to before exploring the intangible for solutions. In fact, as Einstein very nicely put it, it is not possible to solve the problems from the same level of consciousness that created it. So all our problems are physical, mental, emotional, and intellectual, if you look at it. And therefore, it cannot be truly solved from this. You may find solutions based on data and aligning with success stories in terms of data. But then the true solutions for this is found in a dimension that transcends these limitations of the body, mind, intellect, and emotion. And therefore, values are a powerful tool to take us from the tangible, what we are able to relate to in transaction, and shift it to the intangible. And what do they really shift? We'll have a look at it. The human values is a journey from I to we to he, and he being the word Saha used in Upanishads. In fact, the reference to the cosmic intelligence or God, if you like the word, in the Upanishads have been twofold: Saha or Tat. Saha means he, or Tat means that, which is not any gender related connotation, but it is more to do with a pointing, as in to say the masculine. All of us have both masculine and feminine in us. And the masculine is that which is thira, that is achala, which is unmoving and fixed. It's permanent, it is still. Trikala abhadya, That is, in 3 periods of time, it doesn't change. That is the Purusha aspect or the masculine aspect. In that context, God is referred to as Saha or He. He's also referred to neutrally as Tat or that, you see. So, human values is a journey of shift in identity from a sense of limitedness of individuality to transcendence to cosmic identity. And this truly for me is also the wellness journey, which is to harmonize and align the physical and the mental with the spiritual. This is the spiritual dimension. And as a coach, I truly adore Marcia Reynolds, who is one of the top coaches in the world. She's one of the pioneers in what is called ICF, International Coaching Federation Foundation, which is the gold standard worldwide in coaching. And I find the coaching process deeply spiritual, very aligned to the Bharatiya way of understanding as well. And they're also equally conversant with the science of psychology and the functioning of mind and so on. So here is an interesting quote about the alignment of thought, word, and deed, which according to me is fundamental or critical to wellness. You might think, and I quote, you might think you value something because you are supposed to, and then judge yourself harshly when you don't act in alignment with what you think you're supposed to care about. Life feels more intentional when you release the need to live by inherited, imposed values. So you can design a life in accordance with your innate, genuine values. This is such a powerful quote for me because most of us are leading compulsive lives. We are taking decisions, but the question is, are these decisions, which we think is our free will, conditioned or unconditioned by various factors that influence us? And I look at this and say that, life has to be a conscious living, not a conditioned living or compulsive living. Therefore, decision making has to be made more and more conscious, whatever be, whether it's decision making in terms of science, in terms of experiment, in terms of life, in terms of relationships, in terms of whatever profession we are into. When the decision making shifts from compulsiveness to consciousness or conscious decision making, that is when we start owning up or getting in tune with the true essence of life, and that is wellness for me. So this is another quote that highlights this. Living in alignment with environmental factors, personal standards, and activities that contribute to your feelings of satisfaction and fulfillment, your core values, creates a strong foundation to walk on each day. What you value as most important will influence your decisions related to your relationships, career, and other activities you engage in. You will also experience disappointment, anxiety, or emptiness if what you most value is out of reach. So, what I have discovered in many interactions with my clients is most of them, they know, but they're not aware fully of the values that they truly align to or that are very important to them. Sometimes they know it, they don't know what to do about it. And that becomes a hindering factor in achieving success in whatever area of life they are working, whether it's relationship, career, or any other activity in life. Therefore, alignment to values is a very powerful way to live a life consciously, to live a life of awareness. And awareness is everything. We know this, Sanskrit term for God, which is Satchitananda. Sat means pure beingness, which all of us are. We are pure beings. Chit is awareness. And this power of awareness is the Shakti of the Atma, the Shakti of the Purusha. And therefore, that must not be misused. In fact, it is the cosmic intelligence. Imagine if the intelligence that makes the creation work, the meticulous way in which the body functions, for example, imagine if that intelligence functions through all the activities of our life. And how do we think the sages, without great instruments like telescopes or any of these modern discoveries, were able to meticulous detail talk about how the universe is functioning. They've gone to decimal points in describing how far the earth is from the sun. How are they able to do it? They were able to tap into this dimension of cosmic intelligence, which is intuition, and scientists have also done that. I remember the famous example that our organic chemistry teacher would often tell us about the Kekule structure. And, the scientists found it very difficult to understand, the data that they're studying, because the cyclic structures were still not a thing then. And the scientist then gets an intuition of a snake biting its own tail. And that's how the concept of cyclic structures probably came into theory. Of course, it was prevalent in nature anyway, but it came into theory and understanding through intuition. So intuition is something that is so critical to human life, and we often neglect it, I feel, and values are a way to align back to that. So what are human values? Again, human values are those values that help us travel from Vyashti, the individuality, me, my life, my desires, my family, to a collective identity, Samashti. Like I see even in the work of Sastry Garu and many eminent scientists here, much beyond your own zeal to accomplish something, I see the contribution as scientists that we make to the society, because there is a larger concern here. And that is the shift of identity from individuality to the collective identity. But values don't stop there. It inspires us to move from a collective identity, some, to Soham, which is to identify with the cosmic consciousness, God, or the cosmic intelligence, whatever way you want to refer to it. So the Sai model of values that I've developed looks at values at these four strata. I'm not going to go into it because it can take a lot of time. But just as an introduction, in our life, among all the positive values, these are all values that are important to us. It can be stratified into potentially limiting values. For example, job security. It is very important for us in transactional life, at least. But then if you're too focused on this value without giving focus on higher values in life, then you will see that you will compromise on various values that will actually lead to ill health, ill mental health, and that will reflect on the physical. So for wellness, it's very important that potentially limiting values are recognized. We do what needs to be done for that, but we have to focus on the higher values in life. So next is the beneficial values. They are like discipline. A terrorist also needs to have discipline. A neurosurgeon also needs to have discipline. You see, by themselves, they don't mean anything, but it depends on the intention of the person practicing those values. Discipline is a classic example. So beneficial values are such values, but if you tie them up with universal values, that is when you see a Mahapurusha or a Mahatma emerging from the masses, when that happens. Discipline along with universal values. So then we have the core values. Core values are typically positive values that define us. These are values that we time and again exhibit. Our decision making depends on these values largely. People recognize us for these values. Those are our core values. And universal values, see, while the other three may change with Desha Kala Parasthiti, with time, situation, and circumstances, and location as well, demographics, the universal values are changeless. And we look at some of them in a minute or so. But universal values are those values where the identity shifts to the cosmic identity, even beyond the collective identity. Core values may function well even at the collective, like patriotism, for example. It's a collective identity. But universal values like compassion, it transcends time, it transcends demographics. And if we are able to have at least one such universal value guide our life, you will see that you will be in touch with this creative intuition so much more. They are not compartments in life. I would like to highlight that. They are an integral whole. So the Panchakoshas, the way they tie up with the wellness model that I've expressed till now, is the 5 elements of earth, air, water, fire, and ether actually heal each of the koshas, or they contribute to each of the koshas. Earth, the physical body, Annamaya; air, fresh air, I would say, Pranamaya; water, the Manomaya, the mental sheath; fire element, the Vijnanamaya, wisdom; and ether or space, the Anandamaya, bliss element. So to live in touch with the elements, and today I would like to give you a gift in the form of a wellness, I would say, plan. can you get in touch with, and please write this down or at least register it in your phone or mentally, can you get in touch with these elements on a daily basis? Can you promise yourself and just get in touch with these elements on daily basis? Sunlight, fresh air, water, that is good clean water, purified water, right? And consciously get in touch with them. Earth, walk barefoot on earth and be in the presence of fire somehow. Light a lamp, in your puja room probably, or just simply light a candle or light a lamp and be around the flame for some time. You could do a meditative process or anything, but can you be in touch with these five elements? Space, of course, you can get in touch with the practice of Nada Yoga, that is through the chanting of Om, because the fundamental aspect of Omkara is to do with the space element, the Nada Brahman. And therefore, if you are introduced to this kind of a practice, and this Omkara has been discovered by sages of all traditions, I must say. Even the Christians have the same syllables of A, O, M. The Om is basically A, U, and Im, three syllables. You look at traditions in Christianity, they have this combination in the form of Amen. In Islam, they call it Amin. So, because this is coming from nature, this is coming from the creation naturally, and therefore it is possible to get in touch with the primordial aspects of nature, which is space. As the Upanishads clearly describe, Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agni, Agnerapah Ardhya Prithvi. So from the space element came the air, from the air came fire, from the fire came water, from the water came the earth element. Therefore, they are again integrated. But can you promise yourself that you'll get in touch with the sunlight, water, fresh air, do earthing, walk barefoot, especially with the usage of technology, mobile phones and laptops. There is a lot of charge accumulations on the body. Earth is the beautiful drain available to us. So let's get in touch and improve our health. So these are some aspects. The most important, however, we have looked at it already, is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the Buddhi, the intellect, the decision making. Even now, for you to implement the wellness model that I have suggested, you have to decide to do it, you see. So this decision making is very, very important. So I'm just quoting this from the Journal of Neuroscience. Decisions that require self-control are extremely important as they directly affect a person's bodily, social, and financial welfare, you see. So we're going to dwell a little bit on this. And in the Journal of Psychological Science in 2013, there was a study that was published which said that even 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation can help people make smarter choices. And what does a mindfulness meditation do? It basically allows you to shift your identity or withdraw your identity from the conditioning of all the values and beliefs and thoughts that already influence our identity and decision making. If you're able to take a step back and witness the emotion, witness the belief systems that we have, it largely contributes to our well-being in terms of decision making. And decision making is central to our wellness to achieve success in any activity that we want to do. See? So I'm just throwing up this question for you. It's an intriguing question, an eternal debate, but we have tangible answers to explore for this as well. But just as a teaser to you, do we really have free will? Looking at how life functions, there are three dimensions of life, and the mechanism is fundamentally from the spiritual dimension of us, we have the power, the will to act. And how it happens is through the intellect, which is the decision-making capacity, our past memories, the chitta, and the current perceptions, which is the manas. Both of them are influencers of the decision-making process, as you can see in the diagram. They are influencers. And then ahamkara usually is understood as ego, pride in a negative connotation. In a functional connotation, it is how the mind integrates itself with the body to perform action. And when the mind joins the body, that functionality of mind is called ahamkara. We can explore this separately. And then, of course, from the physical realm, it's karma or action, as you can see. So these are the three faculties that we are dealing with. So what is wellness about? Wellness is about recognizing what are those beliefs and values that are actually contributing positively to your life? What are those beliefs and values that are not helping you? Becoming aware of them, letting go of the ones that don't work, nurturing the ones that work for you, probably developing new set of values and beliefs that really would enhance you to the next level, is the way to work in the central zone of this image. As you see, the will is common. The will is like electricity that will anyway power all of your decision making. But the idea of wellness is at this central level, how do we look at what's working for us? At an advanced level of wellness, it is about aligning this whole thing to the cosmic will. That is to say that let the cosmic intelligence dictate how the action is going to happen, and in which case it may intuitively suggest something that is beyond data or beyond what our existing experience is suggesting to us. But that is a challenge that's thrown to us to explore. So wellness, I would say broadly, is between these two levels of identifying the values and beliefs that you have, that are working for you or that you want to work for you, and to thrust in that direction, and letting go of values that don't really help you or that have been a hindrance in your progress. Yeah, so these quotes pretty much talk about the same thing. So I'm skipping that. Uh, and here is an interesting study I want to show from Consumer Research, Journal of Consumer Research. Why Consumer Research? Because they have given their sweat and blood to understanding how to trick your mind, because they want to sell the products to you. And what they found is the systems corresponding to these four faculties: attention, memory, emotion, and choice. Guess what? These are the four faculties that we saw. Choice is the intellect, which is buddhi, decision making. Emotion is the manas. Memory is the chitta, and attention is actually what brings your conscious decisions into action. You see, so it helps in integrating the thought, word, and deed in that sense. So you see that even science or research is showing us that these are the faculties that we grapple with in our mental system. Yeah, so it is easier to progress when the habit you are forming aligns with your values and does not require you to do things you know nothing about. This is a very important wellness principle that I want to share with all of you. How many activities are we doing? How many habits that we have left unmonitored that are actually not in alignment with our values and that make us miserable in terms of our mental and physical wellness? So, what can we do about that? Can we realign that? You will see that realigning your values and your actions to your values will tremendously shift your wellness in life. So, what do we do about it? It's very simple. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we have chanted this a million times probably. But what does it truly mean? It says, Asatoma Sat Gamaya. Let me move from ignorance to light, to truth. So, how do I move from ignorance to truth? The first step is awareness. Moment we become, from a transactional point of view, I'm saying, I'm not even touching the spiritual aspect. From a transactional point of view, when you know there's a problem, it's because there's ignorance surrounding it. First step is awareness. You need to understand what the problem is, what is causing the problem, what is stopping you from solving it. And when you bring in knowledge there and then action in alignment with the knowledge, you see solutions there. And it is the same with the discovery of truth, because the truth is right here. Our very nature is truth, but then we are simply not aware of it. And it starts with awareness and aligning our um, vision first and then activities to the truth of who we are. Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya is literally this transition from the transitory limited identity. The values journey of I to we to he, in that sense, is encapsulated in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So yeah, if you want to look at it, the shift that we are trying to achieve in wellness is from a sense of asat, that is limited identity with boundaries, to limitless, boundless presence that we are. From being grappling with the changeful nature of the mind and experiences that we have, which will continue to be that way because the nature of creation is change. But how can I be the unchanging presence and with the ability to actually master the changeful? You see, how do I move from the ephemeral, temporary nature, which often leads us to um, um, miserable states of ego, pride, and attachment. And when things don't happen the way we want it to happen, we get into anger, jealousy, hatred, and so on. All of these negative emotions begin to rule our life, not recognizing the ephemeral nature of what we are in pursuit of, to shifting the attention inward. Now, all of these points, if I am to give you as an example, there's beautiful sun beating this side, and that reminds me of this example. The truth, or the cosmic intelligence, is like the sun. It is always shining within us. But the thing is, we are looking away from it. And what do I see when I look away from the sun? I see my own shadow, you see. And I see the shadow lead my life all the time if I'm looking away from the sun. And what is the solution to this? Very simple. Just turn 180 degrees inside. That is, just turn inward and see the sun for what it is. And that is the role of intuition, or buddhi, the vijnanamaya kosha. And when we do that, that is the movement from asat to sat. So I'm sorry, we can't explore too much in this time, but this is something um, that if it interests you, we could explore more in detail. I'm going straight to the solutions that are helpful for us. So the Sai model of wellness basically gives us a 21-day challenge to work on. Early morning sadhana, 45 minutes. And there is also research today to show the effect of early morning activities on the brain and overall health. Then during the day, a 15-minute sadhana, and during the night, another 15-minute sadhana. So what are these sadhanas like? The early morning typically would be meditative, using mantras and chanting, which are very powerful ways to purify. In fact, 21 times chanting the Omkara cleanses all the 5 koshas and all the instruments that we use in our daily life: body, mind, intellect, and emotion. It also purifies the mind, which is filled with ignorance or lack of the true identity, or intuition, lack of intuition. So Om kind of creates the necessary atmosphere for us to be more intuitive. So Omkara based chanting and meditation is something I would recommend. I also do workshops on this. And pranayama. Um, Pranayama is probably the simplest way to balance the left brain and right brain. And I would say, before we get into any kind of decision making, it's important to check if we are balanced or not. There is this beautiful episode in Ramayana when Rama and Bharata were having this tussle just before Rama went to the forest. Rama was telling Bharata, "You be the king," and Bharata was saying, "No, Rama, you take the kingdom." It was a very unique battle because both the brothers were actually giving away the entire kingdom to the other, which doesn't happen these days. But there were two witnesses to this conversation. One was the great Guru, Master Brahmarshi Vashishta, and the other was the great Rajarishi Janaka. Both fully realized beings, fully functioning in the world. And when the brothers could not sort this among themselves, they turned to the Guru, because he was also like their father. And they asked Vashishta Varlu, what is the solution to this? And he said something incredible. He said, "My mind right now, looking at this beautiful emotion between you two brothers, so much love between you both, it is so disturbed right now. Otherwise, my mind is absolutely tranquil and still, and I'm capable of making a decision. But right now, I'm emotionally moved and therefore incapable of taking a decision." You see? So he gives a very beautiful lesson for transaction also for us here. And he says, in life, don't take a decision when you're emotionally disturbed or you're mentally disturbed. So to bring in that balance between the right and the left brain, pranayama is a very powerful tool, even in transactional life. It has, of course, much greater benefits than just physical and mental health. So yoga, Surya Namaskar, for example, is a perfect vinyasa. That is a combination of exercises that help in both stretching and strengthening our physical body. It also aligns our energy systems, the pranamaya kosha. Tremendous possibilities there. So if you want a one-point solution in that sense, of course, you must consult your yoga teacher or your doctor. If you have back related issues, and anything that may be a problem for such practice. But otherwise, Surya Namaskar is a go-to for most people. That would be the morning. In fact, in the Western understanding of wellness, we look at a couple of aspects. We say the hour of power in the morning and the hour of love in the evening. So this would be the hour of power in the morning, where we do meditation, yoga, pranayama. So actually, to read books probably, and to dive deeper. During the day, I would suggest three simple activities. Just do one act of seva unconditionally. Don't expect anything in return. It could be offering food to somebody with all your heart, as if you're giving it to your dearest one or to the Lord you adore, whichever, or the goddess you adore, whichever way it may be. But can you make one act of service every day consciously and don't expect anything in return? The other aspect is to express devotion. Can you bow down fully to an higher ideal? It need not be just a deity which you adore. It could be a principle that you adore. It could be the nation, Bharatavarsha itself. But it could be your work for that matter. But can you fully bow down to it for 5 minutes or maybe just 2 minutes to begin with? And in that, see how you can dedicate yourself fully to that ideal. And that is devotion, really. And then the third is the inquiry. This is the Sai model. Sai is basically service, adoration, and illumination. Service is one act of service. Adoration is act of devotion. It could be your parents. Can you just bow down to your parents fully and be at their feet for a minute every day and see how that transforms your life? And the third aspect is illumination, where you take up a quote that inspires you. Sit with that for 5 minutes every day and just see how the intuition about it deepens in you, how the understanding deep. Sit with the quote, be with the quote, not just read it. And if it helps you, and it helps many people doing this, after having read that and ruminated over it, write your understanding, make notes of it, and keep, and that really helps. So then we come to the hour of love in the evening. Can you inculcate an hour, if possible, at least 20 minutes or so, of some activity that you really love? You can know this from what you did in childhood. Typically, for me, it was badminton. I loved badminton. I stopped playing for a long time. So I just rediscovered that and I added that into my routine. And it brought tremendous change to my wellness. So this hour of power in the morning and the hour of love in the evening, where you do, it could be painting, it could be music, it could be art, it could be a dance, it could be any form that you truly love. Probably you're doing it, probably you have stopped doing it, but get it back into your life and see how it shifts your wellness. Make a conscious choice of this. And finally, the most important part of this prescription is self audit every night, where you have a diary or a journal and you write down what went well for you, where you're able to practice this well. I would actually say, in that one act of service, devotion, and inquiry, that is intellectual growth, bring in one universal value, say compassion. See how you can express compassion through service, compassion through devotion, compassion. Read something about compassion, maybe Buddha's quote or any other great master's quote. Mahatma Gandhi has spoken so much on compassion. So you take any of these quotes and try to see how your understanding of this universal value deepens. These are transformative processes, and I'm not saying this from just literature review and study. I've had the privilege of living this lifestyle for more than 2 decades myself, and therefore I've seen what impact it can have on the individual. It's a clear differentiator for you, compared to what else in the world. So yeah, self audit is an important thing at the end, and see how what things went well, what didn't go, and see how you can make a change the next day. Take a resolve. A prayer is a resolve there, where you say that you say, "Oh God," or you make a promise to yourself and say that I invoke my higher self to help me. By not repeating the mistakes or the limitations that I had today, I want to nurture the good things, and I also want to transform that which didn't work for me for my good and progress. So keep it very personal that way, and it can be magical. So yeah, I've shared most of what I would think, forms the wellness model here in the limited time. I'm sorry if I've exceeded the time, but I've tried to package a lot of concepts here for you. But then I'm so grateful to each one of you for the valuable time that you have provided. It is, you can't give anything. Money doesn't count in front of time. The most valuable gift you give to everybody, or anybody for that matter, is your time and attention. And therefore, God Himself is called Kalaya Namaha, Kalatitaya Namaha. He's called as time itself. And I'm just so grateful to each one of you for being here. And I bow down to you in gratitude. Thank you so much for your patient listening. If there are any questions and if there is time, sir, then I would be happy to address them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sai Giridhar, for your wonderful and much involved talk. And it made every one of us to follow you so heartily. Now, a few of the questions given in the chart I read out. Please answer them. So, will it be hibernation or samadhi state if you lose all aspects of Panchakosha?
It's a very good question. So, samadhi itself, by definition, is transcendent of the Panchakosha.
Transcendent of Panchakosha.
Panchakosha. Samadhi, and literally means where dhi means buddhi, the intellect, becomes equal minded. It becomes, it does not differentiate. See, the transactional intellect has the ability to differentiate good from bad, right from wrong. That is the transactional aspect. But when you transcend the five koshas, the same buddhi has the intuitive aspect where it becomes sama. That is, it does not, distinguish right from, no judgment occurs from there. It is just a pure witness of what's happening. And the highest functioning intelligence happens from that dimension. So it's a beautiful question. So it is a samadhi state when you transcend all. Samadhi, however, I want to add a point here. Not as in samadhi where you become dysfunctional. Yogic states of samadhi are like that as well. But by transcending the five koshas, in terms of your awareness and identity, you can be fully functional while being in the samadhi state.
Can happiness be measured?
Krishna, yeah, there are many.
Krishna Mirji.
Thank you, Krishna ji, for this wonderful question. Happiness, there are measures to happiness today. There are happiness studies and so on. But I think that is only a way of, adding a fancy word to the measurables that are there. Of course, see, the world functions based on measurables. The spiritual quest is not for everyone. Therefore, unless it's measurable, it's tangible, it doesn't work in the world. You see, so true happiness is not measurable. It is intangible. The Anandamaya Kosha is not something that can be put into a matrix. But then happiness as a collection of tangible factors like wealth, social status, that's how they measure happiness when they do studies. So that would be my response. Thank you.
So when did the word wellness be added? Got added.
I'm not sure when it got added into the dictionary per se. And I think, see, most of us use these terminology. See, when you get into a deeper level of understanding on truly what entails wellness, like I was saying, wellness for me is being in harmony, getting the physical and the mental in harmony and alignment with the spiritual. Now, the definition of this is not found everywhere in common context. But when you recognize that, you tend to use this word more to appeal to the, like how you, sorry if this sounds very trivial, but how mothers in rural India, I don't know if it happens in urban India anymore, but in rural India, the mothers, they have a mirror or something. They used to show the moon as a reflection to the child. And then when the child is wide open in its mouth, they would feed the food because the child would otherwise not partake the food. You see, or you have a banana in which you put the pill for the child and feed the child that banana so it partakes the pill also, you see. So the pill is for really bringing the transformation is taking that pill or having the nutritious food. But I think these terminologies and words are more towards making it enticing enough for the individuals to choose their transformative journey.
So there are good appreciations from all these participants. Excellent session and very well explained. And another point is sadness and evil. The terms like sadness and evil are missed in your talk. Do they also play a role in our wellness to realign?
Yes. So thank you for this question. So I have only presented one third of my wellness model. So the other aspects of the wellness model have to do with the trigunas, the sattva, rajas, tamas, which forms the head. If you have to look at my model as a human structure, the head is really the trigunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and they are actually practical aspects. They're not philosophical in that sense. And then the trunk of my wellness model is what I presented to you, and the legs of the model involve the negative aspects that you have to let go of. You see, so yes, so they have a very important role to play. Wellness, in fact, to that extent means giving up all bad qualities, that which does not work for you, and nurturing the goodness in you, and probably aspiring for something that can elevate you to the next level as well.
Thank you. Thank you. There is another interesting question. Anandamaya Kosha, what you have shown, is like
Yes.
Atma, which is the innermost layer. But the diagram we had presented was the outermost layer. Am I wrong?
Thank you for the question. So, see, it depends on how you look at it. So, Anandamaya Kosha is not the Atma Tattva, as I was trying to explain to you. It is where you experience the fragrance of the true self in terms of absolute peace, absolute bliss, you see. And that peace and bliss is the fragrance of the Atma, not the Atma itself there. And as Kripanidhi Garu pointed out, when you transcend the 5 koshas, even Anandamaya has to be transcended. That is when you experience the samadhi or the union with the true Atmic self. So coming to the diagram part of it, it's very interesting because the Vedas say that all of creation, the entire multiverses, if you consider this truth to be a human body, it says Sat ke udar mein abhas matra hai in Hindi, which means all of creation is like a minuscule mustard seed, as if it is there. You know, it's just a sensation of being, and it is so minuscule in the stomach of truth. And it's just an example to say, in our human body, the stomach is fist size, you know, anatomically. So in that, imagine just a dot. That is all of creation. So in that sense, the Anandamaya Kosh and the Atma, beyond that even Atma Tattva, encompasses all. So you can say all other koshas are in it. But if you want to look at it from a transactional way, you take the body to be your reference, then each of the koshas get subtler and inward. You can look at it either.
Sir, there is another question or appreciation I do not know that is written in Hindi. Can you read this one?
Yes.
Arun Kumar.
Samadhi equal to Annamaya Kosh se Anandamaya Kosh tak.
Tadanne na tirohati. That
Yes, tadanne na.
arises from Annamaya course. This is the Adhyatmic meaning.
Yes, that's so beautifully said. So this shift of identity that I was talking about, from the physical identity to the true identity, which is actually without identity in that sense. Thank you.
The last question, Sai Giridhar sir, can Brahmananda be reached by human beings? Ananda being in various stages, such as Manava Ananda and Brihaspati Ananda, etc.
So I would say that Brahmananda is actually our true nature. One way of looking at this from the Kosha point of view is the Manushyananda or Manavananda that we look at is defined as if a human being exists for whom all his or her desires are fully fulfilled, if they have achieved the highest possible social status, if they have every kind of faculty that is humanly possible at their disposal. This is considered to be the Manushyananda. And the Upanishads talk about 100 times over this is the Pitru Devananda, and so on, and it goes all the way to Brahmananda. It sounds very complex, but the process is very simple. You drop identity with all the 5 koshas, you're already in Brahman.
Yeah.
And
so still,
because it's so simple, the mind finds it difficult to, grasp this truth. But it is this simple.
So one more question, sir. Can we sit for meditation? Several thoughts keep coming. When we sit for meditation, several thoughts keep coming. How do we stop those thoughts?
It's a very practical and beautiful question. Yeah, with regards to this question, see, the fundamental idea of meditation is withdrawal of attention from the mind. It is not to stop the mind. When you withdraw attention from the mind, either you see the thoughts come and go, or with time they may even stop coming, depending on how deeply you have, deepened in your own awareness or consciousness. But the idea of meditation is many thoughts to one thought, one to none. That is the pathway of meditation. And in that process, fundamentally, you must understand that the nature of thoughts is to come and go. No thought can stay if you don't give attention to it. Remember that one faculty we spoke of, attention. What we do is we believe the thought by giving attention to it strongly and believe the narrative that is given us. The process of meditation is the reverse of that. And the evidence of this, because this is also a scholarly session, I want to present the Patanjali Yoga Sutras here. And the great sage says, Yogas chitta vritti nirodha tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam, which means yoga or union with self is chitta vritti nirodha. If you are able to withdraw your attention from the whirlpool of thought, then the thought will not be a whirlpool, it will come and go. It's the nature of thought to come and go, if you don't give attention to it. And he says, if you don't give attention to the thought, what happens? Tada drashtuhu. There, at that point, the witness, drashtuhu, the seer, the witness, swarupe vasthanam, remains in itself. You see? That is the core. We can dwell on this deeper, but yeah, the way is to withdraw your attention from the thoughts is the duty of a meditator.
So may I request Professor Sanjeevi sir to speak out?
Dr. Sai Giridhar, it was an excellent presentation, very well delivered. It was made simple for everybody to understand. Having been associated with Swami, some of the things that I have understood about wellness and probably happiness is the word illness and wellness. If you take the word illness, if you remove the I part and replace it with the V part, that answers all the questions about illness and wellness. So what Swami has said many times is I. Get rid of that I. Then you're fine. So isn't that simple, or is it more complicated?
No, it is. In fact, thank you for sharing this. This thought slipped my mind, but this is the essence of whatever I was saying. The I we are talking about is a limited identity. The whole idea of wellness is to go from I to we, as you said. Remove the I in the illness and put we there. And Swami, in fact, when I was, sorry for other listeners, when I say Swami, it's the reference to Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Babaji, who's our guru. So I was giving a talk in his presence, and I mentioned this, that our journey truly is from I to he directly. And then Swami called me and he corrected, and he said, it's not I to he, it is I to we and we to he said. So the transition of identity is from the individuality, me, my desires, my wants and needs, to the collective identity, our welfare, our growth. Like all of us are here with a purpose. How can we grow together? And it's so beautiful how Sastry Garu started this conversation with this. He said, let's all work together. So that is the I to we journey for the welfare of the world. And we shouldn't stop there even. We transcend even that to the cosmic consciousness, to he. So yes, wellness is removing I from the illness and putting we there. So beautifully shared, sir. Thank you so much. It's the essence of wellness.
Now we are having one more participant, Mr. G. Swaroop.
Yeah. Hi, Giridhar sir.
Hello, Mr. Swaroop. Yes. Namaste. Please tell.
This is a generation of Insta Reels and we generally tend to lose focus a lot. So my first question would be, how do we stay in focus and achieve our goals? Any few tips would be helpful.
Yes. Any other questions, sir?
Yeah. And any suggestion or your comments on people who are going through depression and mental health, especially when they lose loved ones? And the last one being, we keep hearing people saying, I'm a nocturnal being, I work better at night and all that stuff. So what is your take on that?
Thank you for your questions. So I would go reverse order.
Yeah.
There is evidence today to show that morning activity is very important. That is the early morning. Even according to Ayurveda, if you see, the period of what is called Brahma Muhurtam is the period of Vata. And that is where the brain function is very active in a sense. And it's not the time to sleep according to Ayurveda as well. So around 4 to 4:45, there is also support in the environment. So there is, we spoke of the pranas. There is one prana, Upa prana by name Dhananjaya. So that Dhananjaya Vayu is very predominant at a level at which we experience life. That is in terms of the altitude. At between 4 to 4:45 a.m. And the role of that prana is to concentrate our attention and mind. Therefore, people can use that to do studies, they can use that to do meditation or to achieve success. In fact, our master also used to say this, that 1 hour of study in that time is equal to 4 hours of study any other time in the day. So that is the power of that hour, literally 4 to 5. It feels good sometimes to be nocturnal. I understand that as well. But it's not effective both in terms of health, also in terms of attention. It is not very effective. It also messes up with the biological clock that we have in terms of, the digestive system coming into play at appropriate times during the day in order to take food again at regular intervals. So there are many challenges with being nocturnal. The second question you asked, my first suggestion is anyone going through depression must consult a professional who is certified. There shouldn't be any other way to begin with. However, wellness can be a supplementary contribution to their health. Most importantly, the love their relatives and dear ones around is very important. They need that attention and care. So sequentially, I would say, if they are in clinical depression, you need that diagnosed by a professional and treated. Secondly, a wellness program will definitely help them, bring in that rejuvenation inside out. And thirdly, which is actually central to everything, is the love that you all can give that person. There is no greater power than human love in that sense. But it should be, in all these aspects. So coming to your first question with regard to attention. See, attention has to be cultivated. You must understand. How did we get hooked to the reels and YouTube videos and Instagram? Because we gave attention to it. We cultivated attention in it. It was not there 20 years ago. What did we do then? So attention has to be cultivated, and therefore there are two things to do with it. The values program that I was showing you helps you align your values. If you're aligned to your values, you know what you want to achieve, and therefore you set goals for yourself. When you set goals for yourself and you have a meticulous plan of action, and you're doing with an accountability partner, that is, who will help you, remind you whether you're doing or not. These are tangible steps to get to diverting attention productively. And you have to consciously do it. There is no other way, because you have I'm sorry to say you, what I mean is all of us. All of us have consciously cultivated attention in social media. It's not any other way, and I'm happy to listen to other points of view on this. But then, so the reverse of that, when you get these calendars on New Year's Day and they're rolled up and you get it with rubber band, you open the rubber band out and it's so difficult to put that calendar on the wall. Why? Because it rolls in the direction it has been put. The only way to actually make use of that calendar is to roll it in the reverse direction. Opposite. So it's the same thing. So you have given attention to something that's not working for you. Give attention to something else that is working for you consciously. Make it a goal. Have short-term goals, have medium-term goals. It's very important. And micro habits help. In that way, I would say Atomic Habits is a very good book. I showed a reference to that. They talk of, James Clear talks of habit stacking. What habit stacking means is two things. You take an existing habit or routine in the, like say breakfast, you add a topic to it or a new micro habit to it. Say I will read one passage from a book before my breakfast, say for example, or after my breakfast. So breakfast is anyway going to happen for you. So it becomes a powerful cue for you to inculcate a new habit around it. So instead of scrolling YouTube while having breakfast, you could read a book, for example. You see? So you have to identify what are those pockets in time where this tendency to get into social media is excessive. See, what you have to remove old habit and put a new habit there. For Q, you can either have visual reminders on your phone, or you could stack it against existing habits, which anyway happen, like daily routine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the.
Thank you, Sai Giridhar, for wonderful interactive session also.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sir, Sastry Garu, is there anything from your side, sir?
Yes, this Panchakoshas Siddhanta, I used to give my lectures on as an astrologer.
Yes, sir.
And Mantra Shastra Sadhaka, I used to give this Panchakoshas Siddhanta for the Karma Siddhanta, based on Karma Siddhanta. Because Adi Shankaracharya has given one wonderful book, Darpana Chatushtayam, Manobuddhi Chittahankara. So you well explained its new perspective of Panchakosha. As I used to say that that karma, how karma implements, because everyone asks, because in India, this is karma bhumi, jnana bhumi, tapo bhumi, and veda bhumi. There are so many gurus, adhyatmika sadhakas, and dharma pravachakas. So many people are living in India and preserving the sanjnana part of our Sanskriti. But the only thing is, why people? Because so many people are not. If someone started sadhana and yoga, after some time, he did that. And whoever practicing some other jnana sadhana or mantra sadhana, they always stops suddenly and involves in other activities.
Yes.
Everyone used to ask me, sir, why this is happening? I performed very well in earlier days. Now I am not in a position to. Everything is because it's a wellness. Wellness means samkshema. Kshema, samkshema. Because in our early days, we start, if you remember in postal cards, Kushala, Ubhaya Kushalo Pari starts right letter from Kushala. So all these meanings, how you get, it is all interdependable, and all jnana which Bharata Bhumi has given to us, our ancient knowledge, is tremendous, and one should understand. I believe that whatsoever happening, people who is crossing the Vividha Dashas, so the planetary influence on individual is also play roles for his either physical growth or mental growth or whatever it is. So I'm very much impressed, and I appreciate your sadhana and deep sadhana in your age. I think you are very young in this age. Your knowledge is tremendous, and how explaining the subject is also very important, because having knowledge is not at all criteria. but expressing that is very important in this aspect. Bhagavan Satyasai Krupa is on with you. So very glad, and I would like to interact furthermore. Thank you all. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhanaktu Sahaviryankaravavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Dhanyavadaha.